Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I am going to teach about living organisms and their habitats. It is for FA4 in science. It comes under the branch of science, biology. In that, I am going to teach about adaptation. First of all, we should know about what is adaptation. The development of characteristics in which an organism adapts itself in a particular environment is called as adaptation. Adaptation varies from a different combination of characters like color, size, shape, etc. We are going to see the types of adaptation. We are going to see the adaptation in plants, in animals. In plants, the types of adaptations are xerophytes, hydrophytes, mesophytes. Now, I am going to explain about xerophytes. The term xero means which lives, the plants which is available, which lives in the desert, we call it as a xerophytes. The examples of xerophytes are cactus, asparagus, euphorbia, etc. Now, I am going to explain about the xerophytic adaptation. So, the well-developed root system is found in xerophytes. Leaves are reduced and it is modified into spines. Leaves are coated with cuticles. Leaves are coated with cuticles and only few stomata are found. Thickly branched stems are found. Next, we shall move on to hydrophytes. Mainly, this hydrophytes is found in ponds, mainly water plants. We call it as a hydrophytes. The examples of hydrophytes are lotus, valsinaria, and hydrilla. The adaptative features in hydrophytes are root system is poorly developed, root hairs and root cap is absent, stem is light. Tissues, they have moved spaces in order to keep the plants afloat. Next one is mesophytes. This mesophytes, it's found in all around us. Example, all the plants which is found around us. Examples are guava, lychee, mango, etc. These mesophytes plants, they have a moderate climatic conditions with a moderate supply of air, water and temperature. Now we can see the adaptative features in mesophytes. In mesophytes, root system and stem are well developed. Leaves are large, broad and thin, and we can see many stomata in the leaves, one or more stomata in the leaves. Next, we shall move on to the animals. It is classified into two types. One is terrestrial animals, another one is aquatic animals. Terrestrial animals, the term terrestrial stands for the terrestrial animals which lives in land is called as terrestrial animals. Examples of terrestrial animals are dog, lizard, etc. Now, we are going to see the adaptative features in terrestrial animals. They have a well-developed nervous system and well-developed sense organs. Well-developed sense organs. They have they are covered with hairs and they are covered with the feet and limbs, hind limbs. Next, we shall move on to in terrestrial animals. There are three types of adaptations are found. One is xerophytes. Here we are going to focus on the animal camel. So we commonly we call the camel as a ship of the desert. The adaptative features in camel is it is having a hooves in the feet, which is having a sole feet in order to withstand more heat, and it is having a hump at the back of the camel in order to where the fat is deposited. It is the use of that hump in the camel is to get food whenever it is needed. Then at one gulp it takes 50 liters of water which is circulated throughout the body. The next point is it sweats less and less amount of urine is excreted. Usually its dung is dry. The next one is we shall move on to the mountain region adaptation. Here we are going to focus on the examples of animals yak, snow leopard and mountain goat. Usually these animals will have a fur, that is hair, that protects the animals from cold, and in this the mountain yak is having a hooves in the feet in order to break the ice and graze the grass. Next we shall move on to the grassland habitat. Here we are going to focus on two types of animals. One is lion, another one is deer. The lions, usually the brown color hair present in the lion is used to hunt the prey, and also the eyes which is located in front of the lions is used to locate its prey, that is food. Next one is deer. In the deer we are going to focus on the organs, teeth. How is the teeth arrangement? What is the use of the teeth arrangement? Eyes, ears, and its movement. So usually the teeth of deer is hard in order to graze the grass. Usually the eyes are located on the back of the ears in order to ensure them the directions of danger. Mainly the ears are very sharp for the deer in order to locate its predators. And the last one is movement. Usually the deer's movement is very fast. Next we shall Next we shall move on to the amphibious adaptation. Here we are going to take the example as frog. The definition for amphibious is the animals which can able to live on both land and water. We call it as amphibious adaptation. Example is frog. Other than that, toads and salamanders. We are going to see the adaptative features in frog. Usually the frog adaptative feature is it is slimy and moist, which helps them for respiration. The respiratory organ in frog is lungs. They have a hind legs which helps in hopping movement. And they have a webbed feet which helps in swimming. So I'll repeat the amphibious adaptation. The definition for amphibious is animals which lives both in land and water, we call it as amphibious adaptation. Example is frog. Other than that we have toads and salamanders. Usually the body is moist and slimy, which helps the frog to respire. The main respiratory organ in frog is lungs. It has hind legs which helps in hopping movement in land. And they have a webbed feet. Its role of the webbed feet, it helps in swimming. Next one is aquatic adaptation. The animals which lives only in water, we call it as a aquatic adaptation. The example of aquatic adaptation is fish, octopus, crabs, dolphins and blue whale. Usually the fish will respire through gills, but blue whale and dolphin does not have gills. Instead they have blowholes for respiration. Usually the fish body adaptive feature is it has a streamlined body and it is spindle shaped. Usually the body is covered with scales in order to reduce the water tension, and the fins helps in swimming and also to maintain the balance, water balance, in order to maintain the balance inside the water. And mainly in the fish they have a gills for respiration, and the body is slimy in order to reduce the water resistance in the body. Next we shall move on to the interaction between biotic So next we are going to see about the interaction between biotic and abiotic component. Biotic means you call it as a living component, and abiotic components we call it as a non-living components, and they both have a mutual understanding. We depend on both things in for our survival. They have a give and take between two. The abiotic components like soil, air, light, rainfall, all these supply nutrients to the plant. But the animals they depend upon plants on food. When animals and plants die, they are converted into simpler forms into microbes. Again, these forms are converted back by the abiotic components, and this cycle is a repeated process. It's a cyclic process, and it is a repeated process. So this is a way how there is an interaction between the biotic and abiotic components. From this we conclude that in this chapter we have seen about the living organisms, their adaptation in both plants and animals, and how the living organisms they depend on non-living organisms, and the non-living components how they depend upon living components. By this way I will conclude the chapter. Thank you.